Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Guys, I am pretty excited because I spent several hours yesterday reclaiming my rod building desk. It's been covered up in boxes and all kinds of stuff. I've been getting a lot of prototype stuff and using it for core tackle stuff. I've been using it just to get videos prepped as well as prepping for tournaments, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do it as well, because I am getting ready to leave for the Potomac River, the fifth stop of the Major League Fishing Invitationals here in a couple of days, and I need to start prepping rods. And it's so much easier when this desk is clear. And that's what I've got. I also need to repair a couple of rods as well. I want to replace a couple of ceramic guides, and I got one tip that I got to replace. So I've got that set up, but I needed to reclaim this area in order to use it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about not rod building itself, but what you need to start rod building. And that's because I've gotten a pile of questions from viewers who are like, hey, Matt, I love your rod building videos, but what do I need outside of the rod components to actually build a rod? I think a lot of people see the different pieces of equipment that I have here that I use to build rods, and they assume that it's all very, very expensive. The reality of it is you can get everything you need to build a rod for about a couple $100. And when I say everything you need, it's everything. And because I get a lot of questions and comments regarding what you need for it, I want to walk you through the little bit that you actually need, as well as some of the things that I rely on heavily to help me build rods that aren't necessarily things that you would get, say, at a rod building shop like Mudhole. There are things you can get at Walgreens, things like that. So we're going to walk you through it. It is something that I want to caution you, because when you start building rods, you get addicted really quickly. Now, the positives to all of this is you get to build the rod exactly how you want it, and you're going to save some money down the road as well. The way I like to look at this from a rod building standpoint is you generally can build a rod for the same price that you would pay for a same caliber rod in the store for half the price. So if you like a $200 rod that's at the store, you can probably build that same rod for about $100. If there's a $500 rod that you really like, you can probably build that rod for about $250, somewhere in that ballpark. It does kind of depend a little bit on the components that you choose, but generally speaking, you can build the rod for about the same, half the price of the same caliber rod in a retail store. Now, I will say that the way I look at it is generally if you were to build a nice $300 rod right off the bat, or a $150 component part rod that would retail for $300 in the stores, you basically, for that one rod build, just afforded all of the equipment that you need to build rods, meaning you can get pretty much everything you need for under $200. So if you build your first rod, all your rod building equipment, you might be in for about $350, but that's to build the same price rod that would cost $300 in the store. The next rod you build, you don't have any of the actual rod building material costs because you've already got it. So it really, over the course of time, you pretty much can get rid of that cost when you're building the rods. And not to mention, guys, as soon as your buddies find out that you like to build rods, you're going to be the one that's repairing rod tips, replacing guides, fixing rods, and maybe even building entire rods for your buddies when they find out how nice of rods that you actually make. So you can recoup a lot of that cost back pretty quick just by replacing tips or guides on rods for friends and local anglers in your area. All right, so let's talk about what it is that you need. Now, the first and biggest components, in my opinion, are the hand wrappers, which I have right here. So this is a hand wrapper. You can go really high end and buy power wrappers and things that come with like, foot pedal controls and that type of deal. But this is a standard hand wrapper. So this holds my thread. This allows me to put the thread on the rods. Pretty straightforward, simple item. Other than that, you basically need a rod turner. And the rod turner is good for a couple of things. It's good for helping you put your thread on the line just to hold kind of the rod somewhat steady. And then at the same time, when you go to dry your rod and put the epoxy on the rod, you need a rod turner to spin the rod blank for you while you apply the epoxy and to allow it to dry evenly. Those are your big items. You don't necessarily need a 3 rod rack rod drying system. You can just have one just to turn the rod. It allows it to dry, allows the epoxy to go on perfectly. That's really all you need from that standpoint. Those are the 2 main items. After that, that's when you start talking about some of the other little things that you might want. This is a tape dispenser. You don't need it. I love it because it keeps my tapes in order. You're going to want, not the torch. That's not usually a rod building friend. You're going to want some little Dixie cups to use as mixing places for your epoxies. You're going to want, I use a little bit of thread. This is just some twine basically to remove the China markers, the markings that I put on the rod. And then like this is something I was talking about. This is something that I use a pile of, but I get at Walgreens. This is just isopropyl alcohol. This I use to remove all of the epoxy that I get on my hands, that I get on the rod, the additional glue that you use to put the handles on, things like that. That is your friend to wipe everything off. I put it on a paper towel, soak it really good. It wipes it off. You get a nice clean finish from your rod for that purpose. You need your 2-part epoxy for your guides. This is what you mix evenly, and that you cover that the thread seals in your guides. You've got your 2-part glues for putting the handle and the reel seat on. Some other little things you'll want are some mixing sticks. These are just your traditional lollipop mixing sticks. And then, there's a handful of other little tools you want. Some cheap disposable brushes just to get rid of or to put your epoxy on. A burnishing tool, which is just used to bump your thread back and forth. Pretty straightforward. Probably a pull through of some form or fashion, which would be used to pull your thread underneath your thread to get a nice even finish. Glue stick to put your tip on, as well as this is what I use to put my guides in place so I can thread them. And that's really it. It's pretty much a straightforward thing. I will say you also want to have some reamers. So these are both not just a hand reamer set, but you can attach this to a power drill. And the reamers are what allow you to take the one size handle or the handle grip or the butt grip and ream them out. So whether you're using wind grips like I do or cork grips, you need to ream out the center to allow it to fit on pretty much any size rod blank. And that's it, guys. I mean, a little bit of heat, a little bit, some other little tools that you might find to be beneficial over time, but it's not that costly. There's not that many tools. Now, I will add that this may seem like a bunch of different various things, and it's still like, well, I don't know which glue, which epoxy, blah, blah, blah to get. Guys, go to mudhole.com. I'll put a link for this. They've got a starter kit that is everything I just talked about. It comes as one kit. It's that easy. That's like they give you everything you need down to the mixing cups, the paint brushes, pretty much everything I just mentioned except for the isopropyl. Now they may, in that kit actually, I don't know, they may give you some alcohol swabs, which work just fine too. I just find that I like to use the paper towels a little bit more. But it's that simple. There's not that much more that goes into it. Watch some of the videos that I put forward, and I think you'll see that, that those are the tools that I use. It's a very enjoyable hobby. It's something that I think you'll find to be extremely rewarding if you take up rod building from the standpoint of catching fish on a rod that you built. And I think that you'll find it's not hard. Like it is so much easier than what people think. Go back, watch some of my videos, go to mudhole.com. They have as many tutorial videos as you could ever imagine. They also are great at answering your questions. So if you have random questions that you can't find on maybe a YouTube video, call up Mudhole. They've got a whole service desk that will help you not just get the right parts, but they'll answer the questions as to how to apply anything. Very, very helpful. So check them out as well. It's not for everybody, guys. I understand that, but it is something that is truly enjoyable. So I got to do a couple here. I got to repair a couple and get those going and then get them in the dryer so I can have them ready for me to head down to the Potomac River. But thanks for watching, guys. If you have any rod building questions, put them in the comment section. I would be more than happy to answer them for you. I know I've given away a bunch of my various dimensions and measurements that I use to some viewers that have asked for them. So whatever your questions are, let me know. More than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. New video coming out tomorrow.